When we discuss quadratic equations, what we're talking about, remember, is an equation raised to the second power, and when we graph it, it's going to take that U shape, that parabola. Now, we've already learned how to graph a quadratic equation and find its solutions because that's where they hit the x-axis, when y is equal to 0, and where they hit the x-axis, that is our solutions. The problem with the graph is they don't necessarily give us the exact answer. So another way to solve a quadratic equation is by using the quadratic formula. It says let a, b, and c be real numbers such that a not equal to 0. Of course, you have to have an a term. So if you have our formula written, our equation written in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, then we're able to use this right here. And this is called our quadratic formula. Quadratic formula. X equals opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. Make sure you have that in your notes. And I will teach you later on a way to memorize that. I did make a little note here at the bottom. It says remember that before you can apply the quadratic formula, you must write the equation in standard form. That's this right here. Your x squared term plus your x term plus your constant equal to 0, and that's really important. Okay, so let's see how we can use our quadratic formula. A equals opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So solve using the quadratic formula. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to notice that this is in standard form. We have our our x squared term, our x term. The only thing I'm going to do is make this plus a negative c here. Okay, and it's set equal to 0. It might be helpful to write in ax squared plus bx plus c, because we need to know what those are. Put a 1 in here. So our quadratic formula, again, when we graphed and we wanted to find the solutions, we were looking for what our x values were on our graph at 0. So we're always solving for our x. So x equals the opposite of whatever b is, plus or minus the square root, it's flipping out again, the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That's all under, my goodness, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so b squared minus 4 times whatever our a term is times our c term, all divided by 2 times our a term. Okay. So now you're just going to plug in these coefficients. So we have the opposite of b is 5, plus or minus, so once we're going to do it adding, and second time we're going to do it subtracting, square root of b again, which is 5, squared, minus 4 times my a value, which is 1, times my c value, which is a negative 6, all divided by 2 times my a, which is 1. Now be careful, ladies and gentlemen, not to just pop this into a calculator, because order of operations takes into effect, and if you don't put parentheses in the right spots, it won't work. Okay, because remember, order of operations says we have to do what's under the radical sign first. We have to square the 5, we have to multiply these before we subtract. If you don't have like the parentheses in the right spot, you won't get the right answer. So I'm going to take this out a little bit. I'm going to say negative 5 plus or minus square root of 5 squared, which is 25. Now, 4 times 1 times a negative 6 is going to be a negative 24. And 2 times 1 is just 2. Okay, continuing. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of, keep, change, 24 plus 25 is 49, all divided by 2. Now, we need to do two things with this. We need to add it, and then we need to subtract it. So I'm going to come up here a little bit. This ends up being negative 5 plus or minus square root of 49, which is 7, divided by 2. So I'm going to go negative 5 plus 7 divided by 2, and negative 5 minus 7 divided by 2. Negative 5 plus 7 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 5 plus a negative 7 is a negative 12. And negative 12 divided by 2 is a negative 6. So those are our two solutions. If we were to graph this, our parabola would hit the x-axis at 1 and negative 6. Okay, so again, quadratic formula tells us exactly what it is instead of us having to rely on a graph. Let's look at another page here. How are you going to remember this, our quadratic formula? Well, you're in luck, because tomorrow in class I will teach you a song that you get to sing to memorize it. Before you laugh too hard, I have never forgotten the quadratic formula since high school by this nice little song, so I know you're going to be excited about that. All right, let's try another example. Solve negative 3x squared plus x equals negative 5. Remember, we can't do that until we put it in standard form. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. Negative 3x squared plus x plus 5 equals 0. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So now you just have to plug things in. ax squared plus bx plus c. So if you need to, put a 1 in here in front of x. Opposite of b, so opposite of 1, plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times my a, which is a negative 3, times c, which is 5, all divided by 2 times a, which is a negative 3. Excuse me. So negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared, which is just 1, minus 4 times a negative 3 times 5 is a negative 60, all divided by 2 times a negative 3, which is a negative 6. So now we have negative 1 plus or minus, keep, change, the square root of 61 over a negative 6. Now in this case, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to get a nice integer answer because this isn't a perfect square. So we're going to have negative 1 plus the square root of 61 over a negative 6, and we're going to have negative 1 minus the square root of 61 over negative 6. We can leave that as our exact answers, or if we approximate it in the calculator, again being careful, because if you just type in negative 1 plus the square root of 61 divided by negative 6, it will divide before it adds, so make sure you put the top in parentheses. We can say that this is approximately equal to a negative 1.14 and approximately equal to 1.47. Okay, so these are our exact answers, and these are approximate answers. But again, that would be hard to see those two from a graph. Okay? So quadratic formula, what that allows us to do is it allows us to find out what the roots or the solutions of our equation are without having to graph it.